Bedazzled, released in the year 2000. This delightfully devilish comedy stars Brendan Fraser as Elliot Richards, who is a pushover and just wants to be liked and accepted by his peers and win the heart of the woman of his dreams, Alison. However, when he meets the devil, played by Elizabeth Hurley, she offers him 7 wishes, where he can wish to be a bigger, better, more important person and win the love of Alison. All it costs is his soul. However, each wish turns out to be an absolute nightmare where all sorts of comical hijinks and chaos ensues. Heck, in one of his wishes, Richards was given a tiny, Fraser? Yeah. And that, dear viewers, is why you don't make a deal with the devil, I tell ya. So, prepare to sell your soul as we check out some devilish things that you didn't know about Bedazzled. And if you already knew them, then you know too much. So let's make a wish and check it out. Number 10. Bedazzled is a remake. Bedazzled is indeed a remake of a 1967 movie of the same name, which was starring and written by British comedy legends Peter Cook and Dudley Moore, who back in the 60s had their own comedy show called Not Only But Also. Just like the 2000 movie, it's about a wimpish man who fancies his co-worker, where he's approached by someone claiming to be the devil, in this case it was a man, and offers him 7 wishes in return for his soul. The movie was directed by American filmmaker Stanley Donen, who, interestingly, previously co-directed Singing in the Rain. So that's a thing. The movie itself was filmed around England, namely London and Hertfordshire. Upon its release, the movie's box office intake wasn't a flop, but it wasn't particularly great either, and it was considered a psychedelic comedy. Yeah, look, it was the 60s. It got mixed reviews for its time, but one person who seemed to like it was Roger Ebert, who described it as a very funny, intelligent movie. So it wasn't a standout movie, but just kind of seen as a comedy of its time. A swinging comedy of 1960s England. Number 9, the remake was helmed by a comedy legend. Given that the original Bedazzled was distributed by 20th Century Fox, they owned the rights to the movie, as well as the original movie's director, Stanley Donen. It was the legendary Harold Ramis who pushed for a Bedazzled remake. Now he needs no introduction to comedy, having starred in and co-written the first 2 Ghostbusters movies, as well as directing other comedy classics like Caddyshack, National Lampoon's Vacation and Groundhog Day. Ramis would come on board as the remake's director, co-producer, and co-scriptwriter, with it seemingly being a passion project. In order to go ahead with the remake, he needed approval from the first movie's director, the as-mentioned Stanley Donen, to which, he was on board and gave the go-ahead, and so the Bedazzled remake was officially in production. Number 8. Filming delays. Now, it's said that Ramis secured the deal to make Bedazzled in 1997, and that production was to start in 1998. However, the Bedazzled production was pushed back, according to IMDb, because Ramis instead got to work on a Ghostbusters 3. But after that didn't work out or go anywhere, he was then looking for his next movie, and got the job of being the director for the movie Galaxy Quest. However, Ramis decided to leave Galaxy Quest to direct Bedazzled instead, which at that stage was a production going nowhere, just kind of waiting for Ramis. Waiting for him to pick up the pieces and get it made. I've heard some claims that Ramis left the Galaxy Quest production because he wasn't happy that Tim Allen was cast, as his preferred choice for the movie was Steve Martin. But, either way, Ramis can now get back to his Bedazzled passion project. Number 7, Brendan Fraser dropped out of a movie to star in Bedazzled. When it came to the movie's main lead of Elliot Richards, the part would not have been an easy one, as the part would have required a versatile actor, who would have had to have played several different versions of the character. The actor cast was Brendan Fraser, who at the time was the actor of the moment, having just starred in The Mummy. In fact, when cast in Bedazzled, Fraser was already cast in another movie, that being The Wedding Planner, but he dropped out of that movie to star in Bedazzled instead. When it came to the devil, it was decided to do a gender switch, and for this time to make the devil a beautiful woman. And so the production was looking for an actress with the right kind of charisma and a slight seductive devilish side. British actress Elizabeth Hurley auditioned, and, well, she bedazzled everyone. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Likewise with Brendan Fraser, she was a popular go-to actor at the time, having previously starred in Austin Powers' International Man of Mystery, which got her a lot of acclaim and recognition. Number 6. One particular scene had to be filmed in the UK. The filming of Bedazzled mainly took place around San Francisco, with the Californian city giving the movie its look and identity. And once filming wrapped up, Brendan Fraser had left the US and headed to London to film the Mummy sequel, The Mummy Returns. However, it was felt that additional scenes were needed to be filmed, particularly the scene where the devil is a school teacher. And while in London during the Mummy Returns shoot, Fraser had 1 or 2 days free, so the Bedazzled production flew to the UK to film these additional scenes. So yeah, the production had to fly across the pond to the UK just to film some extra scenes. Number 5. The many costumes of Elizabeth Hurley. It is said that Elizabeth Hurley wears up to 19 costumes in Bedazzled, and, well, she looks great in every single one of them, with her sporting some very out there and extravagant looks, with her attire mostly consisting of red and black. The costumes of the movie were designed by Dina Appel, and she got the job on Bedazzled by the recommendation of Hurley herself, as Appel had previously done the costumes for Austin Powers' International Man of Mystery. That's probably why a lot of her costumes in Bedazzled do look a little kitsch, just like they did in Austin Powers. Although, according to co-producer Trevor Albert, apparently the schoolgirl costume we see Hurley wear in the movie was Hurley's own costume. Yeah, I ain't gonna ask. Number 4. Alternative title. The movie title of Bedazzled makes sense, as that word is all about impressing, particularly leaving a great, positive impression on someone. Much like how the devil tries to make an impression on Elliot Richards, and likewise how he's trying to make an impression on the Allison character, which is why he keeps wishing for all these different identities. That was the name of the original movie, so it makes sense. However, in some parts of the world, like France, the movie was retitled to Devilish, which, honestly, is actually a better title, in my opinion. Apparently, the distributors in that part of the world wanted to focus on the fact that this was a movie about the devil, so it became Devilish. I don't know, I just feel like that title goes better with the movie, but what do you think? The devilish alternative title aside, in Russia the movie was retitled to Blinded by Desires. Number 3. Deleted subplot. So in Bedazzled, we see the Elliot Richards character take on many guises, and that's the main thing, in my opinion, which makes the movie really fun. Seeing Fraser in all these different comical situations, where we see him as a South American drug lord, a world-famous basketball player with a tiny ding-dong, a sensitive guy on a beach who can't stop crying. Seriously though, he probably cries more than the cast of Wicked, as well as a gay intellectual, and even, Abraham Lincoln? However, there was an entire deleted subplot where Richards wishes himself to be a heavy metal rock star, where he becomes a long-haired British rocker, and it's absolutely hilarious. To be honest, this probably may be Fraser's funniest acting in the movie, so it's a shame that it was deleted. I can't help but feel like he took inspiration from the Sex Pistols and Ozzy Osbourne, as well as a healthy supply of This Is Spinal Tap. Both the acting and makeup effects were really on point in this sequence. So, why was it deleted? Well, because it was felt the comedy in this scene was a little too spicy and edgy, what with the bad language, sexual undertones which become sexual overtones, and of course all the drug references. And look, I'm guessing the production wanted to go for a more family-friendly PG-13 approach. And maybe this rock star sequence just would have taken the movie into R-rated territories. It really is a shame, as both Fraser and Frances O'Connor, who played Ellison, are really on cue with their performances here. That, and we also got to see Elizabeth Hurley in a maid's outfit, and I really like seeing that. Oh well, at least the scene made it as a special DVD feature. Number 2, more changes were needed due to test screenings. Harold Ramis aside, other writers who worked on the script include Larry Gelbart, who also wrote for the show MASH, and Peter Tolan, who also wrote for Home Improvement. And it seems like the original version of the script was to focus more on what a perceived loser the Elliot Richards character is. In fact, it's said that the original cut of the movie was longer and did explore just how weak and downtrodden Richards truly is. However, going back to IMDb, the audience in the test screenings did not respond well to this and found the character of Richards to be so pathetic it made them squirm. So because of these test screenings, edits were made, trimming out scenes which made Richards seem really unfavourable, as it was felt that they maybe went a little too far with how much of a pushover the character was. So because of that, cuts were made. But look, to be fair to the movie, in my life, I've actually known many people like Richards. People who try really hard to blend in and just be liked and accepted, but ultimately get socially rejected and frowned upon. Like it's as if the want and need to be accepted is actually what prevents them from being accepted. The human race, it can be complicated and cruel. The only time I found the character icky or cringy is when he becomes invisible and spies on Allison in the shower. But look, it's a comedy movie, it's not real, so we're not meant to take it too seriously. Number 1, slightly bedazzling release. Bedazzled was released in October in the year 2000, and just like the movie it's based on, its financial earnings weren't a flop, but weren't particularly spectacular either, with the movie making just over $90 million on its $48 million budget. It opened up in the number 2 spot in the box office, behind fellow comedy Meet the Parents, so I guess everyone was rushing to watch that movie instead. And apparently Elizabeth Hurley got into some controversy because she filmed a commercial during an Actors Guild strike, which caused members of the guild to protest Hurley at the Bedazzled movie premiere, where they held up unflattering signs referring to her as Elizabeth Scabley. Man, how many strikes do these Hollywood guilds have? They seem to have more strikes than I have hot dinners. And more importantly, don't they have anything else better to do with their time? I don't know. The movie got mixed reviews from critics, with a review in the Chicago Tribune describing it as not Brendan Fraser's, Elizabeth Hurley's, or Harold Ramis's finest hours. And Roger Ebert, who did really like the original, felt this version just didn't have the wickedness of the original. A review in the Los Angeles Times felt that the movie was amusing, but at the same time felt that Bedazzled feels unfocused and unsure of where it's going and falls back to the devil made me do it tropes. Personally, I think Bedazzled is just fine. I find it to be a fun, outrageous comedy with lots of heart. And I do think the movie has gotten better with age, as, to me, a major theme of the movie is finding a sense of acceptance and searching for a way to be bigger and better and more loved than what we really are. Although in the early 2000s this may have seemed out of vogue or unrelatable, I think in recent years the existential search for identity and belonging has become a more open discussion in storytelling and movies. What I love most about Bedazzled is it has a positive message to just be you, and being you is special, and it is important, and it does have its place in the scheme of things, and if others can't accept that, then they aren't worthy of your time or energy. I seriously do think the movie deserved better. It's honestly not that bad. It's just a wacky, supernatural comedy. What did the critics expect? Lawrence of Arabia? And although it got beaten by Meet the Parents in the box office, at least unlike that film, it didn't carry on with sequels milking the same joke over and over again. That joke, of course, being the word fucker, but that's a story for another video. Anyway, I'm Minty, and is it just me, or does 2000 Elizabeth Hurley pretty much look the same as 2025 Elizabeth Hurley? Damn, she really is the devil, isn't she? With all these supernatural abilities. Yep, she's going to outlive us all. See ya!